Yes, this is me, and yes, I'm wearing a scarf on my head because for some reason, whenever I make these little videos for you, I always feel the need to put something on my head and be a little silly. I don't know why, that's just the case. I'm here today because I have been asked to talk a little bit about the different tracks on my new CD, LindaLIVE. So I'm going to attempt to do that just off the cuff. I got nothing written down, so I'll probably make a lot of mistakes. And I might be doing this all day long, but I will try to be as interesting as I can be and give you some little tidbits about each track. Alright, so here we go. I realize I look a little bit like a gypsy, and the fact is I actually have some gypsy blood in me. For those of you who didn't know that, my father is from Austria. My grandmother is from the Romanian side, and we have gypsy in us, which is why I guess I like horses and wolves so much. And why maybe I'm a little bit psychic, okay? Alright, so the first track on the CD is the song Looking Through the Eyes of Love, which is the theme song from the movie Ice Castles. It was written by Marvin Hamlish, my buddy, who I miss. I'm so sad that we lost him way too early. This song is important to me because it is a song that I chose to compete with on my very first attempt on Star Search back in 1988. Amazing, you know, never in a million years would I have thought that I could have gone through undefeated like that. I really just hoped I could win one show, you know, just let me win one show so I don't have to be embarrassed. That was my goal, my only goal. I'm very happy with the way it all turned out. And this song was an important part of that. I used it for the first show, and I also chose it again to sing for the finals, and it brought me great luck both times. And the arrangement really has held up. I haven't sung it for so many years, but we have it now back in the show, and you seem to like it as much as people did way back then when I was doing the song. So thank you, and we'll just keep singing it. Blue sky smiling. I don't know a lot of facts about the song Blue Skies because frankly I haven't looked it up. I sing it because it's just a fun song. I don't even really think about the lyrics. You know, to me it's just a song about beautiful weather, and when every time we have good weather, the day that I'm going to sing it, it makes it all that much more fun to stand up on the stage and remember the great day that we had. And actually, when I do this song, I'm really just enjoying the music, and in fact my favorite part is the instrumental, when I get to just stand there and watch my guys play. And every night I'm just blown away by the talent that these guys have as they each take their solo. You know, I just watch it go around and marvel, and when it gets to Billy and he finishes up with that crazy wild flourish on the piano that is so amazing, I'm so caught up in it that sometimes I almost forget to come back in. In fact, I think I have done that on occasion. So that's really what the song means for me. It's just fun, you know, it's a fun groove, it's fun to do, and it's a great way to kick off a show. Stormy Weather is a classic jazz song. It's been covered by so many people, of course, and known so famously for Lena Horne. This song is one that I think is really showing me that one day I need to make a jazz CD. I've been afraid of that for a long time because I think jazz is something you have to grow into. You know, it's an art form. It isn't just about singing and interpreting a lyric, or, you know, it's really, the voice has to become like one of the instruments. That to me is really the mark of a great jazz singer, is when you're listening to the words, but you're really listening to the sound and the emotion that is being conveyed, much the same way as a trumpet or a saxophone would be in a jazz, you know, in a jazz quartet. I feel finally like it's taken me so many years to get to the point where I felt, you know, not so inhibited so that I could actually sing some licks. You know, you have to put the licks in there. It's about that. And I finally feel today like I'm there, and I really am enjoying it. So I think in the not too distant future there may be a jazz record in my future. And also, of course, I love doing this song with David Fink. He is, as I say every night, he is literally one of the best bass players in the world, one of the best upright jazz bass players there is. So it is really a privilege to perform this song with him and have a little moment that's kind of like a duet between he and I. I'm Not Lisa is a song that really does have a history for me, so that's why it's in this show and why it's part of the Memory Lane concert and on the CD. I was a junior in junior high, and I was washing dishes in our family restaurant. That was also a dance hall and bar, and my dad would bring up bands, and whenever this one band called the Family Tree would come, we got to know them. They came so often, and finally I don't know how it came about, but maybe my dad told them, that I was in choir and I liked to sing, and, it just somehow worked out that I went to their rehearsal one afternoon and I sang for them, and then before I knew it, I was able to be out on the stage with them, once a night and sing this song, and for me that was huge. That was quite frightening and terrifying, but something I wanted to do so badly. So once a night I got to dry off my hands and take off the apron and go out there and sing my one song. And I was terrified, but my dad would be standing back there at the bar, just proud as could be, watching his little girl, and it was really the start of it, I think. It's what, even though I secretly inside always wanted to be a performer, I just never thought, in a million years that would happen. So this was an important song because it put me in front of an audience for the first time in a bar when I was probably too young to be in the bar in the first place. But it gave me that taste, and there was no stopping me once I got that. Look into the crystal ball. I can't help it. I look like a gypsy. Someone Like You. What can I say about this song? It's been in my life for so many years now. I've recorded it on so many different records. It's a song that it will probably maybe be known as my theme song, maybe. Maybe it already is. I think it's probably the most well-known of my songs. Probably had the most radio airplay of anything I've done. Probably known most around the world of any other song that I've done. And of course it's from the only Broadway musical that I've ever been in. I've been singing it for a lot of years. And I often get asked, how do you go out there every night and sing this one and still, make it fresh? And to be honest with you, it's hard. Every time we do sound check, we never play this one. I mean, the guys might. If I have a new player in the band and we need to rehearse some songs that he's never done, I just let him do the song and I don't even sing it, just because I've done it so much. And it is a challenge, but for some reason, you get out there and you do it live in front of an audience and the magic just happens. It's such a great song and people love it so much that, thank God, it happens, every time. In some way, I'm able to put myself back onto that Broadway stage, and those memories are still in there. They're still so strong from that experience that I find my way back there every time, and I get worried. I think, how can I do this? How can I keep singing this song? But when you have a song that's this good, it's that's what makes it possible for you. A lot of people have also gotten married to the song, and I get to meet people after the show, and they tell me that, and it makes me feel good. I hope they're still married. Anyway, that's my Someone Like You story. I once thought it would be so great to play the part of Fantine just so I could sing I Dreamed a Dream every night on stage. I love the score of Les Miserables so much. I just love every single song. I saw it in London, my first time ever. I think it was my second musical I'd ever seen. No, actually the third. And I was very lucky to be able to go to see it in London. It was a wonderful cast. And I performed it. I would perform it in nightclubs. and then I chose it to be the song that I sang for the semifinals of Star Search when I didn't have to compete because I had gone undefeated that half, so I didn't have a competitor. So they gave me a whole 3 minutes, and they set me up in like this set where they spun it around, and I wore this very cheesy Vegas-y long gown, but I got to sing the song on national television, and it was great. You know, it's such a beautiful melody, and it's so, you know, so sad and really gut-wrenching. I don't think my performance that day was too sad. I was too excited to be on the show, but, you know, when I sing it, when I perform it now, it's very, very easy to tap into the emotion of that song. It's so beautifully written, and the lyric tells such a picturesque story. You know, you can really see it. So it's always been one of my favorites, and that's why I chose it for this show.
You made the coat and vest fit the best.
Sam, you made the pants too long. The thing is, every time I go out there now and I start this song, I just have this feeling like half the audience is going, oh yeah, I remember that song, I like that song, and the other half's going, what in the world is this, and why is she singing this? It's just fun, you know. I was a big Barbra Streisand fan, of course, so I discovered the song on one of her early records, and it's a silly song. It was, the lyrics were rewritten by, you know, adapted by Milton Berle. And it's just one of those nice comic relief palate cleanser kind of moments in the show. And also it has a story that goes along with it that has to do with my performing career, because literally the second concert I'd ever been part of, I came out to do the song and the piano player started at 5 keys too high. And if you know music or if you're a singer, you know that 5 whole keys is a lot. It's a lot of half steps. It's a lot of distance from the original key. And nowadays, I would have no problem just stopping everybody and saying, you know, start over. We've made a little mistake here, and make some joke out of it and go on. But in those early days, I had no idea you could do that. I was terrified. I didn't know how to perform. I didn't know how to be in control of a stage. And I just thought, oh, you got to keep it on going, you know. So we worked our way down, the piano player and I, through 5 keys. It was absolutely god-awful. Sounded like some cat dying, you know, something like that. It was just terrible. And when I went off the stage at the end of it, I swore I would never, ever go back out there again. So it literally did almost end my career, but instead it really taught me something, you know, and it's a moment I will never forget. And it's made for a funny moment on stage today.
If I
could is something special. I really mean that. I've sung so many songs in my life, great songs, but there are certain ones that really resonate and really stick with me and really make it hard for me to get through them without crying. I'm a crier anyway, and this song is about, you know, a parent singing to their child. So because I have a child who's now 15 years old and 6'2", but he'll always be my baby. Of course, you know, I can relate to these lyrics, and it makes it hard for me. In fact, this is one time on stage when I break all the rules, and I purposely do not try to listen to what I'm saying. I do not try to let myself crawl inside the emotion of the song the way I want to and the way you're supposed to. I have to very much skirt on the surface a little, so I won't get to that place where I won't be able to sing. I know that it has an effect on a lot of people. The women in the audience, they're not afraid to cry, and I can hear that, I see that. They tell me about it afterwards, but it's the men in the audience, you know, who want to cry but aren't supposed to cry, or so they think. And so what I hear is a lot of I hear a lot of clearing of throats, and that's the guys, and that gets to me. That's pretty touching. So that's my If I Could story. Fernando. Back when I was singing in the nightclubs, when I was performing this song, I wasn't lucky to have people writing for me, of course. So I was just doing cover songs, and I chose a little bit of everything, you know, whatever worked and whatever gave the show some flow. And this was a good one because of its energy, and also it's just a fun song. I mean, it's ABBA. People say, oh, I don't like ABBA. It's not cool to like ABBA. Well, I think most people like ABBA. They just don't want to admit it anymore for some reason. They wrote nothing but hits, nothing but hooks. And this is a great, fun song to perform, and I get to also sing it with Peter, Peter Kalo, who is a wonderful singer, and I want people to know that, he's not just a great guitar player. He sings great, he makes records, he sings, so that's really fun. And it's also fun because we make it a sing-along, and we want to get you involved, and you sing along with us, and that's really fun. It's fun to feel that, to feel that sound coming back from the audience, and I have a lot of fun with this one.
Don't cry for me, Argentina.
Don't Cry For Me, Argentina is hands down one of the prettiest melodies I've ever heard. It's a classic. I don't care really who you would stack this up against. The greatest classical songwriters from history. It's just a beautiful, beautiful melody, written by Andrew Lloyd Webber, and this is from the very first musical that I got to see as a teenager, of course, and it had a very big effect on me. I love the show. I love the score. It made me want to be up there on the stage with everybody. But this song just blew me away. It just resonates so deeply with the beauty and the power of that melody. When that orchestra kicks in and the choir is singing, it's really, it really moves me. So I started performing this song right away when I was working in nightclubs, and I was lucky enough to work with someone who could create that big orchestral sound on the electronic keyboard that he had. He really was able to do that, and we came up with this arrangement, again, where I used my very high voice, and it was a big, I guess you could call it one of my first kind of hits, in my nightclub act. It was very much requested, but I had put it away, and I hadn't been doing it for so many years. So that's what's been a lot of the fun about doing this Memory Lane show, is bringing back these great classic songs that I'd really forgotten about. I've been singing such a long time, and I've sung so many songs and made so many different records that, you forget what you've done sometimes, and this one deserved to be brought back out, and I think it's going to stay out. Well, Frank Wildhorn and Jack Murphy have written me a whole grab bag of an amazing, big band numbers over the years that I've recorded on the different records. So for the concert, and for the CD, I wanted to just put something together where we could do a bunch of them, in one big fell swoop. So we put together the 7-minute medley, and the thing is, we hadn't even rehearsed it. We rehearsed it the day of the live show. Because actually I wasn't thinking of this for the record. I just thought, well, this will be fun for the concert, but we wouldn't put it on the record. But it turned out so well, and people liked it so much, and I thought, well, let's put it on there. It sounds good. So that's how this one came about. And again, these are songs that I haven't sung in a long time, stuff like Vienna, and I Want More, and Never Dance, which was a, kind of a club hit for me. I had a dance mix of that one particular song, and in fact, I was performing it in some clubs right after I'd had Jake, and I remember they would pick me up in a limo at midnight and drive me into Manhattan, and I would be on stage at 2 in the morning in these clubs performing it, and then driven back home in the limo. And at the time I was nursing Jake. It was a little tough. I felt a little funny, a new mom, and there I was in some club with half-naked men performing Never Dance. So memories like that all came flooding back when we did this medley. And it's a powerhouse medley. It's one big barn burner number after another that goes on for 7 minutes, and I was ready to pass out by the time the thing was over. Well, I have talked so much about the song More Than Heaven ever since we started performing it. It's become my dedication song for all the ills of the world, all the terrible things that go on around the world. I mean, in terms of all the people dying or suffering. There's so much of that going on these days, just one thing after another. It's a frightening time we live in a lot of ways. So the song is just sort of a little prayer, a little hope, you know, that'll all get fixed one day, worked out one day. And really what it is just a way to, even though I'm the only one singing, I always feel like the band and I and the audience kind of all come together as just this warm lump of, you know, humanity, and that we're all thinking a collective thought about what's going on in the world. So it's pretty intense for me every night. Well, you should know right now that I wasn't one of the popular kids in high school. I was, you know, really, really tall, really, really shy. I wasn't in cheerleading. I could barely talk to a boy. So it wasn't like, you know, I wasn't in that group. And choir was my world, and the art room was my world, you know. I loved choir, and I loved it so much, and I was so loyal to my choir teacher that when I found out that the choir teacher and the drama teacher didn't like each other, I didn't want to join drama because I didn't want to be disloyal. Even though other kids in the choir were doing that, for some reason, that's the way I felt. So I didn't do drama, and I really would have liked to, because I love acting. I love dressing up in costumes. I love the whole thing that goes along with that. And so finally, my senior year in high school, my choir teacher decided that we would do a production. We would do our own theatrical production, and we did The Sound of Music. And of course, I wanted to be Maria, you know, but I wasn't right for the part. I started out singing classical, in a classical style, because as a 10-year-old, that's what I wanted to do, and that's how I had trained my voice, and I was a first soprano in choir, and I was all, la, 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 you know, singing like that, and I really didn't know how to be more naturalistic, and I didn't know how to even sound like the character of Maria, you know. I was much more fitting for the part of Mother Abbess, and my choir teacher knew that, so I got that part. And I got to sing the song Climb Every Mountain every night. And as much as I did want to be Maria, I have to say it was pretty neat to stand out there and sing that big classic song from the show. And I haven't sung that song since then. So I was, 17 at the time? And I'm 53 now, so that's a lot of years. So it really was amazing to pull the song out, and I remember the day the band and I got together, and I brought this list of songs that I was thinking about doing for this Memory Lane concert, and I was almost afraid to pull the song out and say, this is something I want to try, because I wanted to try it, and yet I had no concept of how we could possibly do it without me singing it like that. So but they, nobody made any strange faces or looked at me weirdly, and we rehearsed it, and lo and behold, it became one of the biggest reaction songs we got in the show. So that's why it's towards the end, and it's been very, very good to me, and you seem to like it, so thank you. It's fun to do it again. Well, I talk about the fact that I have only done one Broadway show, and that I didn't really get to do theater in high school, except for the one, The Sound of Music. And I've done, some off-Broadway productions of our different shows, but not a lot of theater in general, even though I'm thought of as a theater person. And yet, when I sing the song Vienna, and I've sung it now many, 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 many times on the stage, and recorded it on 3 different CDs now, I sort of always feel like I've just done a little mini play, because that's how interesting and well written the lyrics are. Frank wrote a gorgeous melody, very cinematic, beautiful melody, and then Gary Benson just wrote a lyric that seems like a movie. Really, it has a movie plot. Because you fill in the pictures, you fill in the action, you fill in the story. It's just kind of magical. So I always feel like I've done a one-act play every time I perform the song. So thank you, Gary. Throughout your career, I guess it's natural, that you become known for certain songs. And you can't really predict what songs those are going to be. The audience does that. But the fans do that. But I have a couple, and one of them is definitely Man of La Mancha. Who would have thought? You know, I chose that song years back when I decided to do a medley of songs that only men sing. I never in a million years dreamt that it would become such a statement song for me, and that, you know, such a focal point for a lot of the fans, and something that I would be closing all my shows with, you know, pretty much from that point on. I sang the song really because I liked it so much, you know, and also because innately I heard a little bit different arrangement, a little bit different feel than the one that was written in the Broadway play, the way they did that arrangement musically. I couldn't even do that rhythm. This one always felt to me, the way I do it, always felt like what it should be. And forgive me for sounding arrogant, but it just naturally came out that way. And when Colm Wilkinson, my buddy, recorded it, yet another person recording in a long line of people, I just couldn't take it anymore. I decided, I don't care, I gotta record this song, even if it's written for a man, and I'm so glad that I did. I've done it with every configuration, from full-on orchestra and choir down to just the piano, and it's always fun. It's just a great song, and I wish I had 25 more just like it.
Some people looking for.
Well, what can I say about, you know, the song Over the Rainbow? Can't really talk about Over the Rainbow without talking about Judy Garland. As most of my fans know, or all of my fans know at this point, Judy Garland is the reason that I sing, you know. I saw her when I was 8 years old. I was sitting on the floor of the living room next to my dad. He was in the easy chair, and I saw The Wizard of Oz for the very first time. And when she came out and did Over the Rainbow, she changed something in me, and my dad must have known it. He must have felt it, you know, been aware of something in me had changed while I was watching it, because he looked at me and he said, "Are you going to sing like that one day?" And the funny thing is that I said, "I'm going to sing, but not like that." Because in my mind, I was already thinking of classical singing. You know, why? I don't know where I got that from. I have no idea. But to me, that was the way I was going to sing, was in a classical style. But she was the one who made me want to do that. And of course, then I went on trying to train my voice in the classical style. And then I started listening to more Judy Garland and more Barbra Streisand. And the two of them then sort of pulled me away from the classic and more into the standards. But that was the day. That was the day that changed it all. And when I sang at Carnegie Hall, the very first time I did my show there, she was in there. You know, there are a lot of ghosts in Carnegie Hall, but there's no question that for me, Judy Garland was in the hall that night. In fact, she was sitting right on my shoulder. And it was special. And I say this with such sincerity. I wish so much that I could be face to face with her in person and tell her thank you, you know, for pointing the way, you know, for waking me up to realizing that this is what I wanted to do. She changed my life. Okay, so there you go. I have talked about each and every song that we recorded on the LindaLIVE CD. And I hope I've given you some interesting tidbits. I've tried. As I said, nothing was scripted, so it's just coming out of the top of my head, and my head gets a little fuzzy these days, but I hope that you enjoyed the little info. I want to thank all of you so much for your support of this project. This is my second independent CD now, and it's exciting. I have to tell you, I'm having more fun than I've had in a long time. In fact, I wish I had started making independent CDs, you know, years ago, because I found out I like being in charge. I found out I'm a little bit of a control freak. I like doing what I want to do. It's taken me a lot of years to grow into myself and to know what I want to do. So, but it's kind of all come together, and you're making it possible. So thank you very much for supporting this effort, and it means a lot, you know, to Billy and to the guys. We worked pretty hard, and we put a lot of effort into trying to bring you good music, and it makes it worthwhile for us when we see how much you're enjoying it. So thank you. Thanks for coming to the shows. I plan to keep on doing shows for as long as I can and keep putting out new CDs for as long as I can. You know, this is the only life I've ever known, and it's a pretty great life. So I will keep going for as long as I can. And I hope to see you out there and come to your town sometime soon in the near future. Looking forward to it, and as always, I look forward to meeting you after the shows. It's been a lot of fun for me. That's something that's sort of new in my life. I've always met people at stage doors, but I've never done actual CD signings where I literally go right after the concert and just say hello and sign for anybody who wants to stand in the line, and I really have enjoyed meeting you. I do enjoy people. You know, you have to be a people person to be in this business, and I spend a lot of my time at home being very quiet. A lot of times it's just me and the dog, so I really enjoy it when I get to see all of you and talk to you. So thanks for coming out, and I hope to see you all again sometime soon.
And I never danced the way that he moved me, never kissed the way that he kissed me, never loved the way that he loved me. How can I dance now? Never knew the heat of desire, never knew the flames could go higher, never felt the passion, the fire.